Cody, who would be your definite first half dud?
I mean, there's a long list of like those marginal guys that we could go off, and I could go off on all of them. But if we're talking about the big money, the guys that have, that have underperformed, Dansby Swanson for me is number one. And I've been a defender. When he was struggling going into May and June and like mid-May, all these, like I sat and was like, he's gonna hit eventually. I'm still confident, and at the very least, be a league average hitter, and still give you great defense. Well, that month of April was hard to watch for him defensively, considering the standard that he has set himself for defense. But he has been a lot better defensively since April ended. Up there and outs above average. I don't know the actual number, but I know it's definitely up there now. But the offense, I mean, he's got like a 79 WRC plus here at the break. And I'll say this, over the stretch of good baseball, he has been hitting. And I hope it's a sign of what we're going to see the last 2.5 months. But if we're talking about the overall first half of the season, to me, Dansby Swanson is a big reason why this team has underperformed. Because even though he's giving you defense, he's not even giving you a league average bat. That's all I asked for him. I asked for him to be a 100 to 110 WRC plus. That's what he's been for his career, for the most part. When he's with the Braves, what he was last year, hell, he was a better offensive player than that last year. But that's the bare minimum of what I'm asking. I'm asking for elite defense and a league average bat at worst. And he hasn't even been a league average bat. So it's one half. It's not to say that I'm going to sit here and start comparing him to Jason Hayward contract, which is stupid to begin with, because both players are completely different and they have nothing to do with what the Cubs actually asked them to be. The Cubs signed Dansby Swanson particularly for defense and to be a league average hitter, because that's what he's basically been with the Atlanta Braves his entire career before he came here. They signed Jason Hayward because he had the best offensive season of his career with the Cardinals going into 2016, and he was legitimately the most highly touted position player in the offseason going into right before the 2016 season. They signed Jason Hayward for offense to go with the already great defense they had. They legitimately thought Jason Hayward was going to be a better offensive player the next handful of years that the Cubs were going to have him. So to me, I look at it a lot differently. I'm not telling y'all how to fan. I'm not telling you that it has to be this way or that way, but that's how I look at it. All right. But at the end of the day, at least this year, he has not played up to the standard. He just, for him, I'm sure he's been just as frustrated as we or me or the people in the YouTube chat. I guarantee it. He's got to hit more. He's got to be at least a league average hitter. That is all I'm asking, for him to be a league average hitter. And he just hasn't done that for the last 2.5 months, 3.5 months.
No, I think, when we've talked about just the offense being really underperforming for a while there. Like Dansby was one of those guys that you just weren't. He may have a good day, but it was like mixed in with a bunch of bad days at the play. You weren't getting any consistency from him, and just not to the level where they need him to be in this lineup. Like you said, Cody, the last week or so, he's been better. Like since that second game in Baltimore. Just this is 6 games, so take it with a grain of salt ish. But 364 batting average, 909 OPS, had the homer, 3 RBIs, 8 hits and 22 plate appearances. So a better week, but a week does not change what the last 2 months were for him.
I would say is Sunday. The Sunday game against the Angels was probably the sign of him starting to do something, because I felt like if I remember correctly, that Sunday game against the Angels was okay, he's doing something here. And
he started hitting the ball a little harder, even if I think one was a line out.
Yeah, and he hit I think the thing over the last week that he's been doing is taking the ball the other way more. Because this is the big thing. The big, and everyone said this isn't news. He's been hitting too many ground balls. He has he's got a career high in ground ball rate, and he's been pulling the ball way too much. When he starts taking the ball to right field, that's when you know he's right. And he has been doing that over the last week. So, I didn't mention, there was that little period where he was hurt, and the 2 weeks before he was actually put on the injured list, he was playing through an injury. And whether I can be mad at him about trying to play through it, I can be mad at the Cubs for letting him try to play through it, all of that. But at the same time, like, at the end of the day, you got to perform, man.
I do think, sorry, Ryan, I was just going to say real quick, I do think that if we may play a game of over-under here in the next couple of days, if I had to go for someone to have over, like a better second half, Dansby's on that list because if somebody could be helped by like a whole week off, if it is part of the leg and that has been a problem, I think it may help him more than some other guys even.
Possible. Sure. I mean, he's definitely a candidate for just a better second half. Again, because the first half just did not go, particularly on offense, just the way it needed to go. So candidate for a little more positive regression in the second half, and the Cubs, at this point, the Cubs just need it. So, and so it kind of has to happen because they need that from him.
We all silly like the mayor.